It's been really telling, I hope, for all of you out there, the way the mainstream media, what's left of it. I mean, PMS now, is that what that one's called? I don't remember what the MSNBC is now. PMS now? MSDNC? I'm not exactly sure. It's been really telling to watch them literally cheer against peace and have a meltdown that Trump appears to be brokering it between Ukraine and Russia. Now, anything could happen. I feel like we've been here 1.5 million times before. One side says they want peace, and then the other side says, okay, let's discuss it, and then they bomb each other. It's something that obviously we never should have been involved in. I will stand firmly in the camp that this was set upon the American people by Biden's campaign while he was asleep at the wheel, so they could have their proxy war and fund the military industrial complex against, using American taxpayer dollars. But the media meltdown after yesterday's summit has been pretty wild, including the fact that apparently there was a hot mic moment that the media is trying to spin up as like this anti-Trump thing, like Trump's in the back pocket of Putin, blah, 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 blah. And some recent poll data has come out, and Trump is sliding a little bit in recent polls. But again, Trump never had a chance to win the 2016 election, according to polls. Kamala Harris, many polls right up until election day, still had her winning the election, still had her sizably 2, 3, 4 points ahead of Donald Trump. So, I don't know about you, but if you've never actually done a political poll, leave a like on the video. I'm 42 years old. I have never, ever been called, asked, or, I've never been polled. Giggity. But I've never participated in a political poll, and nobody I know has. I could say for a fact, my wife, also 42 years old, has never participated in a political poll. So it's hard to really put a lot of fate, but the meltdown has been wild. Hot mic catches Trump's crazy whisper to French President Macron, who many believe are married to a man, before multilateral meeting. Hot mic caught President Trump whispering something he called crazy as Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky and 7 European leaders prepared for a closed-door meeting at the White House to talk about ending Russia's war in Ukraine. I think Russian President Vladimir Putin, wants to make a deal. Oh, heavens to Murgatroyd. Trump whispered to French President Emmanuel Macron in the East Room, I think he wants to make a deal for me. You understand that, as crazy as it sounds. That's very much how Trump talks. Here's how it's going to happen. Here's the only way this war ends. Well, there's actually a couple ways this war ends, but Russia buys Donbass or whatever, the land they want, from Ukraine. Ukraine then uses that money to pay their debt back to the United States, which they won't do, but that would be nice. And that's the end of that. There is no scenario where this war ends where Russia does not get some portion of this land that they've been fighting for. Also, has anybody even asked the Eastern Ukrainians where they want to be, what they want to be associated with? Because I'm sure that some want to be a part of Ukraine, some want to be a part of Russia. Some would probably rather be sovereign and not be a part of either one. So this whole idea that everybody in this Ukrainian province sees themselves as Ukrainian and wants to be Ukrainian is just not true. Now, again, it's also not true that all of them see themselves as Russian, and, it's complicated. But the media running with this hot mic moment is wild. The fact that you said I'm willing to participate in security guarantees. Now, the biggest part of the security guarantees that had me concerned was the fact that Trump didn't immediately and unequivocally deny that he would be willing to put boots on the ground. However, he has now clarified that. President Trump on Tuesday, that's today, pledged that American troops would not be put on the ground in Ukraine, but provided little other insight into the scale of the U.S. security guarantees as he pushes to end Russia's war on its neighbor. Obviously, they're in the middle of negotiations. I am not surprised by the fact that Trump might keep things close to the chest right now. Obviously, he's negotiating with Russia, he's negotiating with Ukraine. He's not going to say out loud everything he's talking about, but he has said, "You have my assurance and I am president," Trump said on Fox and Friends. When asked what assurances, that he said there won't be American boots on the country to defend against Russian incursion. Now, I hope he also makes the same promise about Israel, but that's neither here nor there. There is room for U.S. military involvement that does not require American troops in Ukraine, including air or drone support or non-combat roles. In fact, a senior administration official granted anonymity to discuss private conversations told Politico on Monday that there isn't a red line on U.S. role, adding that the U.S. could participate in a peacekeeping force if it is the last piece of the deal required. The comments Trump first said Monday's White House meeting Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and European leaders come after an intense few days of negotiations. During a summit in Alaska, Russian President Vladimir Putin, expressed openness to security guarantees. Well, look, obviously, Putin told Trump what he wants to end this war when they had their summit. That's obviously, Trump knows what it's going to take to end this war. Zelensky has probably also communicated to Trump, hey, this is what is required to end this war. The American people have communicated that we want this war over and that we are sick and tired of it. Now, of course, the media is like, Zelensky's masterstroke to win over Trump and avoid another White House debacle, as he offers $90 billion deal to U.S. to help end Russia-Ukraine war. Now, Zelensky did show up to the official meeting wearing a suit. That is, many believed, him kissing the ring. I don't know if that's what they particularly said here, but the potential peace deal drew skeptics, as French loser President Emmanuel Macron said he did not see President Putin as very willing to get peace now. That guy doesn't even know the difference between a man and a woman, so I don't really care what he has to say. Zelensky laid the groundwork by offering a $100 billion weapons deal as an olive branch to Trump. The Ukrainian leader also donned corporate attire in accordance with his more nuanced approach to handling the professionally dressed president. Zelensky clearly learned a few lessons from his last visit to Washington, which led to a bitter confrontation with Trump and President J.D. Vance. This time, he said he had the backing of several European leaders, including UK's Keir Starmer, Italy's leader, France's leader. The heads of state had coached him prior to speaking to Trump. He may have either taken their advice or the withering counsel of Vice President Vance from the last time they met, as he was immediately complimentary of and thankful for President Trump. I don't think he listened to some of these leaders that have been invaded by the Middle East and lost most of their cities and countries, and having large percentages of their young women defiled by these invaders, and pretending it doesn't exist. I don't think Zelensky really thinks about that. Now, the thing that a lot of people don't know who are watching this is that, remember, when this war ends, Zelensky will no longer be president. And I think there's some real concern here that he has a lot of reasons to want this war to continue, because he's term limited. And once this war is over, people forget, he's not even really the duly elected president of Ukraine right now. He suspended elections. Okay. So he knows that the end of the war also means the end for Zelensky. And that is something that obviously is very, very concerning. And, they're trying to push these polls in the day after the meeting. It's another part of the meltdown. Trump approval tanking with the American public, new poll shows. For the first poll in Trump's 8 months in office, it has finally gone underwater. That's it. For the first poll, when the survey found that 46% of voters approve of Trump's handling of the economy, compared with 51% who disapprove. Is that really cratering? I wouldn't say so. I wouldn't say so. On immigration, one of his signatures campaign themes, 47% approve while 51% disapprove. Well, you know, the people that disapprove are people that want bigger deportation numbers. Foreign policy also registered with negative marks. 44% approving, 49% disapproving. But again, Trump's approval on immigration has seen the biggest drop since January, declining by 19 points. I think a chunk of that is from Trump voters who, want to see bigger numbers. They want to see Trump pump those numbers up. But also, it's also been a sustained campaign by people like Joe Rogan and the mainstream media to pretend that, well, Trump's just ripping kids from schools. Trump's ripping kids from schools or deporting them without their parents, which hasn't happened even a single time to my knowledge. So there's kind of been this sustained, Trump is taking all your gardeners and your friendly little Miss, Consuela, who's selling tamales on the corner. Some of them, are getting wrapped up, but it's the overwhelming majority of them are criminals. Now, the other thing I want to point out, a lot of people aren't happy with Trump about his relations with Israel. In particular, this week, Marjorie Taylor Greene now calling for the immediate return of an Israeli cybersecurity official and alleged criminal, Tom Alexandrovich, because he was allowed to flee the United States due to Israel's significant influence over the United States. Now, this guy got caught up in trying to, a crime with the kids, we'll say, and he should not have been allowed to flee the country, and he should be in American custody. But when you vote for Trump, you're voting for Israel. He's always been that way. I knew that when I voted for him, even if I disagree with how deeply involved Israel is with our government and all the bizarre concessions we give them. But you take the good with the bad. And I'm sincerely hoping that Trump gets this war done and over with. Far too many have lost their lives. Far too many bloodlines ended over a small piece of land that really isn't that important. And hopefully, Zelensky will see the bigger picture. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do leave a like on it. If you haven't yet, please subscribe or follow down below, and we'll talk to you again real soon.